What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Okay, this is the final pay-per-view before I do WrestleMania videos. I'll start them later this week, hopefully. The next video in itself, I gotta mention it, is gonna be Shawn Michaels' road to WrestleMania 12. We're gonna start off the night after WrestleMania 11 when he turned into a baby face. Then we'll talk about his journey and how he made it to Anaheim. I hope it's a good video. By the looks of it, it's gonna be. But yeah, I just wanted to announce it now. After that, we'll definitely do WrestleMania 18, which is later this week. No Way Out 2008 in particular just gives off a fun vibe to me. First of all, the song for the pay-per-view is legendary. I just remember that song, Fake It, being featured in a hell of a lot of old YouTube videos. Second, a few of the matches had this big fight feel to them, at least for me. Like John Cena versus Randy Orton before it was saturated in the main event chamber match. Third, in a way this event's overlooked, 2008 pay-per-views were great. I mean, for WWE, it's a rarity to find a year full of good pay-per-views, but this was just that. The only other years I can think of that had good to great pay-per-views with only like one or two bad ones are 2000 and 2001. That's all. It's a weird time for WWE due to the fact that they went HD, yet we're preparing to go PG. Also, I didn't know if you guys know this, but damn was the 2008 roster stacked. I'm not kidding, you guys knew it. So what's on the card? Cena and Orton with the most hilarious ending to a world title match until last week. Raw and SmackDown chambers that were superb. Chavo puts his No Way Out streak on the line. Pretty boy Floyd looking like a little kid attends the show. And with that said, let's get into it. No Way Out 2008 was held in the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada on February 17, 2008. Maybe that's why I get a big fight feel from this pay-per-view. 15,240 were in attendance to witness Chavo Guerrero put his streak on the line, and a staggering 329,000 purchased this pay-per-view. Like, where in the hell did these people come from? Let me explain it simply. This No Way Out, it was the most purchased pay-per-view since 2003, and in general for pay-per-views excluding the big four, it was the highest buy rate for any WWE pay-per-view since Vengeance of 2006. It's just insane to me. I think we could attribute that to the fact that there were two chamber matches. I guess that's why it was the most purchased non-Big Four pay-per-view in a long time. The first match was for the ECW Championship. CM Punk challenges Chavo Guerrero for the belt. Regarding the feud, I love the Gulf of Mexico match just for the stupidity of it. You know, winner has to throw their opponent into the water. And the oversell that Chavo did, you'd think a ghost tackled him into the sea. As for Chavo being ECW champion, it's random in the sense that nobody expected him to win it from Punk. Anyways, right in the beginning, Punk kicks Chavo for slapping him, elbow knockdown, tilted world. They clearly disliked each other to the point where collar and elbows weren't the way to go. Chavo slows things down and he begins working on the abdomen area. And as Taz was saying, Chavo's trying to ground CM Punk. Chants for the challenger intensify, and this is enough to get him back into it. The corner knee wasn't it though, but the power slam certainly was. And as Punk was going for the GTS, Chavo counters and hits a tornado DDT. That isn't enough for the W. Punk managed to rebound with the enziguri, but it's also not it for the three. And then proceeded to attempt the Three Amigos, much to the chagrin of the fans. And the hat trick itself wasn't to be, but Punk quickly hit the Bulldog, which almost got him the victory. Unfortunately, though, Chavo had his foot on the rope. A kick knocks Chavo right out of the ring, and the champ at this point really struggled. Things were looking pretty gloomy for him, but he escaped the Hurricanrana and hit the Frog Splash out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he just wasn't letting that streak end. Decent match, but the ending did catch me off guard. Like, they really had Punk lose clean to a heel. I ain't complaining, because it was very different from what I expected. I expected a dirty finish, because this was Chavo Guerrero for crying out loud. I did expect more from the match, but hey, it wasn't bad. It was the right choice to open the show. In the back, Mike Adam Lee interviewed Rey Mysterio on the incident from Friday. So let me explain it simply. Rey was trying to convince Vicky not to marry Edge, and he accidentally nailed her. Apparently, he wasn't remorseful of this, which was pretty heel-like of Rey. Anyways, Floyd Mayweather meets up with him and they chant elsewhere, so that's the interview. The next match is the SmackDown Elimination Chamber. Winner faces Edge for the gold at WrestleMania 24. I ain't disrespecting Rey. It was clear at this point that he wasn't going to win that title. MVP Montel Vontavious Porter, the United States Champion, half man, half amazing. Big Daddy V was there. Despite the questionable ring attire, I still thought he was menacing and unstoppable as a kid. Finley had just turned babyface at this point. This is where I don't remember much of his run. Like, the moment he ended his feud with Vince, I struggled to remember any of his stories from 2008 or 2009. Batista looks so weird seeing him wear wrist tape, and The Undertaker at C 2008 was a pretty big year for him. He really was a sight to see in the ring. The two guys that started off the match caught me off guard due to the fact that I expected them to face off later on. And damn, Taker wasn't playing. MVP looked like he was in for a rude awakening in the bell rings. Right out of the gate, The Undertaker and Batista deliver haymakers. They didn't try to preserve their energy, and already Batista was thrown to the outside. This didn't stop him, however. Back and forth action from both men. Taker managed to corner the animal, stomps and rights, and it took a bit for Dave to fight back, but when he did, the fans booed. Yep, the fans weren't really fond of him. Both men booted one another, and it was time for the next entrant, the Great Khali. Botch. It was actually Big Daddy V. He dominated for a bit, chopping, slamming both Batista and The Undertaker, and at one point, the Dead Man was exiled of the chamber for a few seconds. He was taking his time in the attack, yet there was nothing these guys could do about it. As he's going for a Samoan drop, Batista finally catches him with a spine buster. He then clotheslined Big Daddy out of the ring before Taker managed to DDT him onto the steel. 1, 2, 3, he's out. Next up to enter was the Great Khali. Damn, were the fans ruthless. They loudly chanted, "You can't wrestle," as Khali's hitting Kevin Nash's favorite move. Taker had some fight in him, but did nothing but piss off the Giant, so he hit the double barrel that wasn't enough for the victory. It was close though. Batista soon enough found himself in a vice grip, but the former world champion decided to low blow Khali in order to escape and hit the spear. He was met with a boot though from The Undertaker, and as for Ranjin Singh, Taker had an issue with him also. In the ring, Great Khali found himself locked in on Hell's Gate. He taps out, and he's eliminated. Next up was Finlay, and he immediately runs into a boot, but it didn't really affect him in the long run though, because he managed to show why he's one of the best. He hit the Celtic Cross, but Taker kicked out, and at this point he had taken 2 finishers yet managed to stay in it. The guys were taking impactful moves, but it's like they maxed out their stats before the damn match. Finlay soon got comfortable enough in the chamber, and he sent Taker into the plexiglass before receiving a package suplex. Countdown's on, and enters MVP. Unfortunately for himself, The Undertaker was there, and once again, it didn't keep him down. As a matter of fact, he had a signature move on both Batista and The Undertaker, who once again kicked out. This guy mistaken no way out for WrestleMania, probably. So the US champion used his own chain on the participants, and because of this assault, The Undertaker was busted open. It seemed like the shots MVP was throwing out were helping The Undertaker build momentum, and MVP began pissing himself. So he ran to the top of the pod, but the Dead Man was still following him, and he caught him and threw him off just like that. Fans cheer. Finlay goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3, and he's out. Taker then attempted an elbow, but found John Cena. Suddenly, Hornswoggle hands Finlay the shillelagh, but all this did was anger Batista, who grabbed him and attempted the Batista bomb. Nope. Finlay blasted him. 1, 2, that ain't it. Unfortunately for Finlay, he ran into The Undertaker and got chokeslammed onto the steel, and so 2 remain. The same exact 2 that began this match. They engaged in a slugfest. Yeah, boo for Batista. He won the battle and hit the bomb, but The Undertaker once again kicked out. I honestly lost count on how many finishers Taker took at this point, but he took a lot of them. Also, the reason why The Undertaker kicked out was because Batista spent a bit too much time crawling for the cover. He proceeded to deliver rights in the corner when Taker catches him with the last ride, and again, it took him too long to crawl for the cover, and so Batista kicked out. Despite this, he felt that it was it. Batista counters and throws him to the outside. He tosses him into the chain and decides it's a great idea and does it again, but unfortunately, Taker backs off and counters using the ropes to hit the tombstone pile driver. Damn, that was awesome. 1, 2, 3. It was one of a kind. I mean, I really loved how the crowd reacted to it. Like, that was the last thing on their minds. Awesomest spot in a match. I know it's not a word, but it was. The match itself, the crowd was excited, and it did take a while for it to get going. Once it did, it was entertaining as hell. Is it the best chamber match? No, by any means. It felt pretty weak, you know. There's a bunch of mid-carders in there. But Taker and Batista made up for it. The MVP spot was memorable. I still think about it to this day. So yeah, it did its job. They accomplished what they were set out to do. It was make The Undertaker look strong. He really looked good out there and then some. In the back, Edge was clearly worried about his upcoming challenge, but tried to focus on Rey Mysterio. Meanwhile, Ashley and Maria visited the Playboy Mansion. The reason why they were there was because Ashley wanted to convince her to pose in Playboy. She had done it the year before, I believe. And Maria wanted to, but Santino, the Jello boyfriend, put the kibosh on it. By the looks of it, she was leaning on saying yes, and eventually she did. The next match was a career-threatening match. Mr. Kennedy vies for Ric Flair's career. You want the story of this? Check out this video. A long story short, I'm pretty sure you know what's up. Kennedy wanted to end Flair's career. I mean, that's shocking information, right? Heading into the match, the Nature Boy had a bad knee. Initially, Mr. Kennedy tried showing off. He was rubbing it in the face of the dirtiest player in the game, but ended up getting knife-edge chopped. Of course, this was during Flair's farewell tour, you know, like Kobe, Dwayne Wade. It was clear that this thing was going to end eventually, but it was a fun ride. Kennedy realized, oh, I hurt the knee, and he exploited it. Flair shouted in agony. He's cussing out Kennedy, but there was nothing to do. Of course, this got him some sympathy from the crowd. Kennedy himself was pretty disrespectful out there, and he managed to lock in the figure 4 on the 16-time champ. He's rubbing it in verbally again, and it took a bit for Flair to reach the ropes, but he finally did. Then all of a sudden, Kennedy was getting frustrated. His move, the Green Bay Plunge, was kicked out of, so he attempts it again and runs into a chop block. Flair does it again, attempts it once more, but gets shoved into the turnbuckle. Once again, Flair kicks out despite Kennedy using the ropes to his advantage. Figure 4 gets countered into a roll, but despite this, the Nature Boy was hard-headed. He still wanted to lock it in, and this time he was successful. Kennedy was stuck in the middle of the ring. He's shouting in pain and ended up tapping. Not bad. I'm pretty sure everybody knew there was a negative 100% chance of Flair losing, so it kind of dragged down the match. It was short, but it didn't overstay its welcome. Decent enough. Kennedy, he was really heading places, but a couple of injuries derailed his momentum and a whole lot of other things. In the back, Mr. McMahon reminded Finlay of his upcoming match with Hornswoggle, Steel Cage, and how the amount of pain Finlay's in right now is nothing compared to what he's going to put his son through. I'll eventually dive into that entire story eventually. Next match is the World Heavyweight Championship. Rey Mysterio challenges Edge for the gold. So all I could get out of this is Rey getting his ass kicked and Vicky saving Edge's ass. That's all. It was mostly a placeholder for WrestleMania 24, but I'm certain Kid Me thought Rey had a chance at winning it. I mean, I really believe that the babyfaces had chances. And Edge, oh man, that guy, I absolutely despised. To this day, I don't think I've hated somebody as much as I did with Edge back in 2006 to 2009. Unfortunately for Rey Mysterio, he was just injury prone at this time. He was getting hurt at the worst possible times. This was one of them because Rey was supposed to team up with Batista to face a returning Big Show and Floyd Mayweather. Talk about a match with star power. Rey tore his entire bicep, meaning he was out indefinitely, and he ended up staying on the sidelines until August. But about the match itself, Edge and Rey do special things. I bet it would have been better than the Rumble match. They just didn't have a chance to show what they were capable of. WWE were well aware of Rey's injury, so this one was short. The bell rings, and the Rated R Superstar had a smile on his face. Why is that? Well, Rey has a torn bicep. The challenger had to utilize his quick offense, but despite this, he was feeling some pain in his right arm. All Edge had to do was kick that bicep to take control like that. The challenger goes for a breather, and Edge just baseball slides in before sending the right arm into the steel steps. He's just a bully that manages to generate heat easily. In the ring, the Ultimate Opportunist continued working on that arm, and Rey, he just had an uphill battle to fight, but still was fast enough to evade some of Edge's attacks. He went for the moonsault, fans cheer, but this gets him a kick out. But still, at this point, momentum was on his side. Tornado DDT almost got him the victory, but Edge put his foot on the rope. Hell, he even hit the 6 one time, but his arm was killing him. Rey then goes for the springboard, and boom! Edge catches him midair with a spear. 1, 2, 3. That's all she wrote. Not bad. It clearly was short for obvious reasons. I don't even need to say why. But otherwise, it would have been a superb showing. Definitely for sure. These guys, we all know what they're capable of. Edge and Rey Mysterio. After the match, the Big Show of all people decides to make his return. He's much slimmer than last time around, much healthier, and seems to be a babyface. He said that he's missed this. He's missed the WWE, and he promised to be a champion again. And it didn't matter if it was Raw, SmackDown, or ECW. He was going to win the title. Unlike others, he wasn't out here to make promises, and simply put, he already accomplished much, so it's only a matter of time before he wins titles. Despite all the excitement of returning, Big Show's eyes were fixated elsewhere. He exits the ring and turns heel by going after Rey Mysterio. He provokes Rey's buddy Floyd Mayweather, who decides, you know what, I want to fight. He jumps the barricade, the entourage follows along, and Big Show's in provoke mode. He then shoves Mayweather as if he's trash before going down on one knee, and what follows was honestly hilarious. Mayweather delivers some rapid punches that you can't even see before running away. It was like he was running away from a school bully or something, and the fact that Big Show just ran through the posse, it just got me laughing. He was all bloodied up. Shane McMahon of all people had to calm the Big Show down, and as a result of the attack, his nose was broken. Big Show spoke about this a number of times and reminded everybody that it went as planned. He believed that this was the only way for the angle to work, and it did. It was really entertaining. The next match is for the WWE Championship. Randy Orton defends the coveted gold against the returning John Cena. Now, you guys know the story. Orton and kayfabe took out John Cena. He returns and surprisingly wins the Rumble, meaning he's got the match with Orton. For some reason, he was very impatient and decided to push the title match forward to No Way Out. Now, making this video, I stumbled upon a bunch of rumors. But one that caught my eye was the fact that Cena was going to win the title here and face Triple H in a singles match. Apparently, they wanted to promote a sequel to their WrestleMania 22 match as if it was a boxing main event, you know? Cena Triple H 2. I would believe this, but they also stated that Orton would be relegated to Money in the Bank. I mean, everyone was expecting a sequel to Triple H and Cena, but Orton, he belonged somewhere. He belonged on the top also, so there's that. Before I start talking about the match itself, this one to many is one of Cena and Orton's best matches together. It had this big fight feel to it, and I went back and checked predictions for this pay-per-view. Most had Cena winning. Some actually thought he was going to win the title and face Triple H. Or perhaps a triple threat, but with Cena walking in as the champ. So the bell rings. Collar and elbow transitions into an inside cradle. Takedown from Cena. He's wasting no time. He was going for covers, trying to get Orton off his game. The crowd was just electric, you know, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. And I think that's what makes this match much cooler. Orton quickly delivers strikes and boots. The challenger initially struggled, but got the face buster in and almost stole the match. The champ proceeds to catch Cena off guard with a kick to the pectoral muscle. Once again, he decides to pose and almost paid the price for it. He rebounded with a clothesline, however, and the Legend Killer continued where he left off. And damn was the crowd so loud. Scintillating right hands and... Again. Orton wasted too much time and was back on defense. Leg drop from the challenger gets a near fall, and by the sounds of the crowd, you think this match was in 4th gear or something. Orton takes back control, and he's straight up breaking the rules at this point. His slow, methodical pace was basically screwing him over because, again, Cena caught him and almost hit the FU, but he managed to escape and uppercut the hell out of him. Orton was just picking apart his body at this point, with the focus mostly being on the surgically repaired pectoral. Just as he's going for the knee without the pad, Cena moves out of the way and he's trying to build momentum, but ends up finding himself back in square one. Orton catches him with the sleeper, and John's just struggling at this point. He couldn't muster any strength to escape. But this is Super Cena we're talking about. He was definitely going to escape. Shoulder tackles from the challenger, the slam, and the 5-knuckle shuffle. Just as Cena's going for the FU, Orton makes a run for it. They engage in a slugfest on the outside, and both men then realized that they were going to lose the match by count out, so they re-entered the ring. Orton was livid over this. They had a little sequence that concluded in the backbreaker, but unfortunately for the champ, he landed on the exposed knee, so it hurt a bit. They fight on the top rope. Cena pushes him away, but fails to successfully hit the leg drop. Talk about high risk. There it is. Orton measures the challenger, looking for the elusive RKO, but it's not to be, and he actually finds himself in the STFU. Orton was desperately reaching for the ropes. The crowd was on fire. Both sides. Both sides were really into the match. It took a while for Randy to reach the ropes. Once he did, he ran to the outside, complaining about his knee, and he instructed the ref to count him out. Cena didn't like this and went to the outside, and boom, he took an RKO. Somebody's gonna get counted out, but it wasn't gonna be Orton. The fans loudly chanted for Cena. Mike Chioda's rapidly approaching the count of 10, and it seemed gloomy for the challenger. 7, still down. 8, still down. 9, he's slowly getting up. 10, it wasn't to be because Cena beat the count. Orton couldn't believe it. Cena's like, that's right, I'm unstoppable. So the champ proceeds to do one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the championship match, and he slapped the taste out of the ref's mouth, which gives him a DQ loss. Some of the fans were really happy to see it end this way because it meant Orton retained, but others didn't like it for the fact that they were robbed of a proper finish. Cena couldn't do a thing about it, but FU Orton and lock him into the SCFU. Overall, that was a good-ass match. The crowd really added to it, in my opinion. It had this big fight feel, unpredictable sense to it. I loved how Orton was just trying to find ways to escape and actually succeeded in the end. Wasn't as good as SummerSlam, obviously, but it did its job at advancing the story. I do believe that if Cena or Orton won the match, it would be much more appreciated. DQ finish is hilarious in hindsight, but having to spend $50 to see that back then, that would be bad. It's not my favorite Cena Orton match, but it's decent. Problem with these guys is the fact that we've seen their matches a little too much. The bouts aren't exactly bad, but when you have two guys face off that many times within like 2 years, yeah, it's tiring. I do think they'll face off one more time in the future, though, so there's that. In the back, Shawn Michaels apologized to Triple H for what's going to go down in the game himself, said that he doesn't want to do all that. For the title, sure. And the main events, the Raw Elimination Chamber match. The winner goes on to face the WWE Champion at WrestleMania 24. Jeff Hardy won the vote for the match at 38%, and damn was he over. Triple H, he had a good 2008. Sure, he didn't want himself to look defenseless in video games. Compared to 2003, totally different person. In my opinion, the year in itself is pretty underrated for him. He had superb matches with the likes of Jeff Hardy and John Cena. Umaga, he wasn't really doing that much. He was kind of a big deal, but he was losing to the top dogs. JB, after spending WWE's entire year-long budget on fireworks, was involved in a feud with Chris Jericho that I personally think should have extended to WrestleMania 24. Jeff Hardy, you guys definitely know what's up with him. Even Umaga was a big fan of his. That's how good he was. Chris Jericho was back to save us from something. What that was, I still have no idea to this day. I'll dive into his return before I remake the feud video with HBK, but like I said, his momentum fizzled out quicker than an NXT call-up. Shawn Michaels, the guy who was having the matches of his career in 2008. It was his year in terms of match quality. I could go on and on and on about the showstopper, the headline of the main event, but we got a match in front of us. So the bell rings. Shawn and Chris collar and elbow, feeling out process. Actually scratched that. They quickly chopped each other. They countered each other's pinfalls, just one-upping each other. Northern Lights from Jericho leads into a backslide from Michaels. They're just following up on everything that the other did. By the looks of it, Y2J took control of the backbreaker, but it didn't last long because HBK did his little comeback. He managed to go up top and unsuccessfully hit the elbow because Chris Jericho pulled his knees up. He goes for the Lion Saw, but knew HBK was going to pull his knees up, so he quickly transitions into the walls. Michaels evades the hold and attempts the sharpshooter to a chorus of boos, and like I said, they're both neck and neck, evenly matched. Anything you can do, I can do better. They ended up colliding into one another, and it was time for the next intro. Ended up being Umaga. He brought ruthless aggression and double clotheslines to both men. The monster then hit a double Samoan drop on both men, which got a loud reaction from the crowd. Umaga kicked Michaels out of the ring, and I should know he was busted open. The guy was doing whatever the hell he wanted, and it was on the guys to capitalize on his mistakes. That's exactly what they did. Jericho was desperately trying to get the walls locked in. Michaels then joined in with the crossface. The crowd's cheering, and it was time for JBL. He comes in with the boot to the baby faces. Jerry Lawler thought it wasn't so smart because they had Umaga in the middle of the ring. They were going to have him beat. Bradshaw picked up the tempo, delivering several rights, and was just rough and aggressive. He wasn't as rough and aggressive as Umaga, it was a different kind of rough and aggressive. Shawn, meanwhile, was getting maimed on the outside. Umaga was remorseless, and it wasn't until Triple H entered that things changed. He runs in there, knocks down Umaga, whoops JBL's ass. Jericho took a spine buster. Umaga took a spine buster too. JBL took a DDT, and the Simone Bulldozer was driven into the plexiglass. The Lion Saw wasn't to be, but the clothesline from hell certainly was. JBL turns around, and boom, he takes a code breaker. 1, 2, 3. Bradshaw was so livid about this that he brought in a chair and handed out several chair shots as if he's Oprah or something. When Umaga approached him, he's acting all scared, but boom, he blasted him also. And at this point, nearly everybody was busted open. Jeff Hardy was patiently waiting, and he enters. He brought the fight to every single competitor. DX took a damn whisper in the wind, but Umaga ruined everything once again. He threw Jericho as if he's trash. Triple H was stuck in the Tree of Woe position. He was just like a monster. Poor Jericho was launched through the plexiglass. It was incredible stuff. But because of this, Umaga made himself a target. HBK caught him with the sweet chin music, codebreaker coming from Jericho, pedigree from Triple H, and to top it all off, a swanton from the top of the damn pod. 1, 2, 3. Just as Jericho gets up and approaches Shawn, he receives a sweet chin music. 1, 2, 3. But that wasn't even it. Why? Because HBK then took a twist of fate and Triple H hit the pedigree on him, and so 2 remained. It was a rapid succession of eliminations at this point. It was very quick. Then Jeff Hardy and Triple H had a little match. The charismatic Enigma managed to bust the game open by ramming him into the chamber repeatedly. He was showing aggression like never before, and at one point, he almost screwed up a counter to the pedigree. Swanton, though, wasn't to be, and Triple H hits the pedigree. 1, 2, nope, the match still continues, and when the fans stood up, it brought me so much excitement. The chair JBL brought in was used by the game to attempt the pedigree. Jeff hit the low blow, and just as he's going for the twist of fate, Triple H counters, and instead, Hardy lands on steel, and Triple H capitalizes on the moment by hitting the pedigree. 1, 2, 3, wow, that was incredible for sure. It's one of my top 3 chamber matches. There were so many memorable and intense spots. The blood was in HD. The fact that Jeff Hardy looked strong in defeat, yeah, I loved it. Nobody dragged the match, they enhanced it. Umaga had his violent spots. JBL had that chair moment. Jericho and HBK with their fun mini match. Jeff and Triple H with their back and forth encounter also. Man, I just want this match to be talked about more. It has to be in the top 5 or top 3 at best chamber matches. I do believe if they had 10 more minutes to it, the match would be talked about more, and it could have surpassed New Year's Revolution or Survivor Series 2002. Who knows? Yeah, it was very good. The star power was there, unlike the SmackDown match. Violence, memorable spots. I thought it was incredible. Definitely match of the night. Definitely top 10, probably top 5 WWE matches of 2008. So that's No Way Out 2008. It was better than what I remembered it being, which is a great thing. The SmackDown Chamber match, Taker, definitely the MVP. Mayweather Big Show moment was memorable as hell. Still talked about to this day. Cena and Orton was kind of good. It was just kicking into high gear, but then it ended just like that. The main event MVP would be Umaga. Might be a hot take, but I give it to Umaga. Like, he was involved in all the memorable spots. Just about every one of them, so there's that. Like I said, No Way Out was definitely superb. I love the event. It was fun. I suggest you watch it if you haven't. Just comment down below what WrestleManias you guys want me to make a video on. I'll definitely do it, so yeah. What do you guys think of No Way Out 2008? Please comment down below. And that's your first video. Make sure you hit an RKO on the like button and perhaps the pedigree and the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.